What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam in 2021. My all-time favorite DLC, at least for an FPS game. If I had to say my all-time favorite DLC overall, like in all of gaming history, it would probably be the Ballad of Gay Tony in Grand Theft Auto 4 because that was just amazing. But Bad Company 2 Vietnam is definitely the best online multiplayer DLC I have ever played. I really can't think of a multiplayer DLC that even comes close to the quality of Bad Company 2 Vietnam. I've played all the DLCs from Battlefield, from Call of Duty, and this is just the best one of all of them. Because typically in an online multiplayer DLC, you got a few new maps and a couple new weapons, and that's pretty much all there is to it. But this DLC, it's so large in scope that it might as well be its own game, separate from regular Bad Company 2. And that's because this expansion pack takes place in an entirely new setting, an entirely new war and conflict than what we had in the original game. While the base version of Bad Company 2 takes place in a modern setting, this DLC takes you back to the Vietnam War in the 1960s, which was pretty unique because we did have one Battlefield game that took place in the Vietnam War. It was called Battlefield Vietnam, came out in 2004, the second game in the Battlefield franchise. But typically in the FPS market, you don't see a lot of Vietnam War settings. It's mostly World War II or modern military. So I like that Vietnam kind of did something a little bit different, something we usually don't get in the FPS market, which is the Vietnam War. And what I love about this expansion is that they put a real effort to make it feel like an immersive Vietnam experience. And I think the best way they did that was through the weapon selection in this DLC, completely different from the weapons that you can have in the base game, which is a modern setting. So a lot of the weapons, like the Scar, you can't carry over to Vietnam. You cannot use those weapons in this DLC, but to make up for that, there are brand new weapons in Vietnam, like the AK-47 and the M16, my two favorite guns in this expansion, that were not available in the original game. Vietnam also added the flamethrower, which was used actually very often during the real Vietnam War. I think there were over 15 new weapons total from this pack. And I appreciate the fact that you couldn't attach red dot sights and a bunch of modern weapon attachments in Vietnam that you could in the original, and that was for immersion purposes. Having a red dot sight in 1960-something is not very immersive. I remember Call of Duty World War II, you had all these different attachments you could put, but it was supposed to be a World War II setting. I know some players didn't appreciate that you couldn't have more customization options, and you also couldn't use motion sensors and other tools, but I personally thought that was a really nice touch that DICE made, and helped give Vietnam its own identity, even though it was technically a DLC. This pack also has an entirely different set of vehicles that were used during the Vietnam War, but were not used in a modern setting, so that also helps with immersion. And the 5 brand new maps, I mean, you feel like you're right in the Vietnam conflict. They were designed so well. I love each and every one of them, and they play well for all game modes. They're designed a little bit differently to accommodate for each game mode, which adds a lot of replayability, because even though it's just 5 maps, they play a lot differently depending on the game mode that you decide to play. Unfortunately, though, if you want to play Rush or Squad Deathmatch in 2021, you won't be able to, because there's only one server that's still active in 2021 for the entire Vietnam expansion, and it's a Conquest server, so you will not be able to play Rush anymore, which sucks because Rush was so much fun in Vietnam, but you can't play it anymore. And even the one server that's left, the Conquest server, you won't find any players online most of the day. The only time you'll find them is around nighttime in Britain because it's a European server. So I only tend to find players online around 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to like 5 or 6 o'clock. So a very short window that you can actually play this game. And even if you're able to get on at the right time, the server only gets half full. And it's a 32-player server, so you only get like 16 players at most. I think the most I've seen was like 18, but still, that is not even close to being full, and it's the only server left. So yeah, Bad Company 2 has definitely seen better days. Don't even bother trying to play this if you have the PS3 or 360 version, because those versions are completely dead. You will not find anybody playing online, ever. It really sucks that the community is so dead these days, because it is my favorite DLC. I like this DLC more than half the Battlefield games I've played at full price, so it's a real bummer that I'm not able to experience it really anymore. I can play some Conquest matches here and there, but I enjoyed Conquest a lot more when you can have 32 players, full servers, because it made it flow a lot better. In this game, it kind of like, with having less players now, it just feels like it kind of drags on a little bit more than it should. Add that with the fact that this is a European server, and my ping is super high playing this because I live in the States. My ping sometimes can get over 150, and you guys know, when your ping's over 150 in any online game, there's going to be some trouble. And I've definitely noticed some hiccups, you know, a little bit of lag here and there. Nothing too unplayable, I will say, but it's definitely noticeable from time to time, and negatively affects your gameplay experience. But if you're watching this and you live in Europe, this will not affect you at all, since this server is a European server. But if you live in, like, the West Coast, if you live in California or anywhere in that area, like even further away than I do from the server, you're gonna have an even worse ping than I do, and in that case, it's probably gonna be unplayable for you, because for me, it's barely playable. I have like a 160 ping. So just be mindful of that. If you have any interest in playing this in 2021, you might not be able to, depending on where you live. I know the entire Battlefield franchise is on sale right now on Steam, and you can get Bad Company 2 and Vietnam for less than $10. The Vietnam expansion is like $5. I'd say it's worth that price if you don't live too far away from the European server and don't have a ridiculous high ping, and if you're okay with the game only being active during certain times of the day, which in the East Coast is 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. And this DLC is online only, no single player, so it's online or nothing. With all that in mind, make your purchase decision wisely. Me personally, I still have a decent amount of fun going back and playing this, but I definitely have a lot more fun playing the base version of Bad Company 2 that has a lot more populated servers. You have like 4 or 5 full servers of Conquest and Rush at like any given time of the day. Even 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll find at least one server that's populated in the base game. But Vietnam is in pretty rough shape. At least you can find some players, though, at certain times, which is better than nothing. I tried to play the original Vietnam Battlefield, and I couldn't find a single person online. I was originally going to make a video on that before I did this, but since I can't find any players for the original Vietnam, that video is going to have to wait for a little bit longer. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.